Welcome to 6 Feet in the Six, the show where we share ideas and best practices in commercial real estate. Joining us today is Deanna Smikulis, Sustainability Advisor with Perkins Will. Deanna, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I went to school for interior design at Ryerson, and I worked as an interior designer for a couple of years. Within that period of being an interior designer, I realized that there was a lot in terms of sustainability that I don't think that people were focusing on at the time. Things that really caught my attention were especially the waste that comes from interior design projects. Also, we don't really know the materials that we're using when we're putting them in the space. So I really wanted to start focusing on how I can implement sustainability practices within design. That led me to where I am now, where so I work at Perkins Will right now, and I'm a sustainability advisor. And we focus a lot on sustainability practices like reducing energy use, reducing waste, reducing water use, indoor air quality. The biggest thing we're focusing on right now is embodied carbon. So that's kind of where my career has led me, and it's one of my passions. I know we live in this climactic crisis right now, so knowing that I'm focusing in on specifically carbon is a pretty incredible thing, and it gets me excited every day.
What was one thing you accomplished during lockdown that you're really proud of?
I remain fit. I think that being able to work from home gave us a little bit more flexibility. I could fit in walks in the morning and really clear my head and get myself ready for work every day. So I feel like I've led a pretty balanced life during the pandemic, surprisingly. And that's something that I think a lot of people can probably relate to now that they have a little bit more freedom with their schedule. But I've kept a balanced lifestyle. I think that's been probably the thing that's kept me going.
This next segment is called Explain That LinkedIn Post. And this is where we take a deep dive on our guests' LinkedIn accounts and look for posts that need more content. So 2 years ago today, you posted an image of you and your colleagues heading out to a climate rally. What can you tell us about this event?
So that was the climate strike in Toronto. I'm blessed to work for a company that supports and really pushes for sustainability and climate action. And we were all given the opportunity to march in this climate strike. And it was amazing. It was really cool because there was thousands of people, and I feel like we're all meeting for the same purpose, and a lot of kids were involved as well. And it wasn't so much like we're pushing the message on people. It was more so like we're all kind of in this together, and you really felt this this community feel amongst that climate strike. So yeah, we all got together in our office and we made signs, and we had a little fun doing it all together, and then we all walked through the climate strike together, and it was awesome. It was nice to know that something I'm super passionate about is also being felt across not even just our industry, but generations of people. And it was great.
So what has the last year and a half been like for your business?
Surprisingly, it's been really busy. It's just me and my colleague Zaina at Perkins Will, who are specifically in our department. So we thought that there would be a little bit of a dip in work, but it just kept ramping up. And I'm not sure if that's because all our clients were suddenly like, this is the opportunity to reevaluate our sustainability attributes now that there's a bit of a break. But work just kept coming in. We kept getting busier. We really started to focus in on driving some of the initiatives that we've been talking about for the past couple of years, like implementing life cycle assessments where we assess embodied carbon among other impact categories. And we really doubled down on improving our internal processes. So doing resilience studies for projects, doing life cycle assessments for projects, like I said. We caught up with a lot of lead projects. So it's been a great opportunity to get up to speed with pretty much everything that we wanted to do over the past couple of years, and work just hasn't stopped. So that's a great sign. I know that construction at one point was halted a bit, but like I said, in sustainability, that was the perfect opportunity to catch up on a lot of sustainability things that people, I think, have thought about for a long time, but just didn't have the time to implement. So it's been pretty much ramping up this entire time.
What are some of the current initiatives your firm is working on?
There's a couple. So Perkins Will is, it's a multidisciplinary firm. So we have our interiors team and our architecture team, and then urban planning. Interiors wise, we are starting to implement embodied carbon analyses on our projects to see what the major categories are in terms of an interior space that impacts the carbon cycle, and how we can address these things and make changes to lower that embodied carbon. So that started this past year, and so far it's been pretty successful because we've been able to start that conversation, especially with furniture suppliers, and figure out where furniture lands in this embodied carbon world, because it's difficult for that particular section within our industry, because there's so many products and there's so many pieces to each product. So I think just starting that conversation of, what is your, do you have any environmental product declarations that show embodied carbon? And if you don't, is there a plan to get this done? And in terms of architecturally, we've also been focusing on embodied carbon, but we're more advanced in that section. So it's more so, how do we implement these changes so that we see it through on projects? So for example, we're looking specifically at concrete on a lot of our projects and how we reduce the embodied carbon. And the biggest thing that we're doing is starting to rewrite our specifications to implement embodied carbon within it. And we actually just received feedback from one of our suppliers saying that, we're looking at this project and we noticed that there's an embodied carbon requirement, and this is amazing. You guys are ahead of the curve, and everyone's excited to implement it. So that's been a really big thing. And also, I just want to address, maybe you can put this beforehand, what embodied carbon is, because I don't think a lot of people know. So embodied carbon is essentially all the carbon that's released into the atmosphere within the process of getting materials made and brought to site. So it's pretty much all the carbon that's been released by the time the building is first day of operations. After that, it's considered operational carbon. So all the carbon that's emitted in order to operate the building. So as we become more efficient within our buildings, and we install renewable energy, and we reduce our energy use through more efficient systems and disconnect from natural gas, then the majority of the carbon left on the project is now embodied. So all the carbon to get the building built. So that is becoming a big issue right now, because 11% of all the carbon released into the atmosphere has to do with building materials. So we as an industry have a big responsibility for reducing that carbon.
I can't help notice you called out office furniture specifically. Listen, it's no secret to me. I believe we have a lot to do in sustainability efforts in office furniture. But as a furniture dealer, represents multiple manufacturers, where do you think the first place we should start is?
What we're noticing is task chairs are really great for a start, because and this is just me speculating, but I think it's because there's less materials that go into a chair, and it's a lot easier probably to know where the materials came from to make that chair. So I think that you need somewhere to start, and you need somewhere easy to start so that you can get into the momentum of doing it. So a lot of furniture manufacturers that we've reached out to Most of them have some kind of environmental information relating to task chairs. I think it's going to start going into things like workstation components next, probably desks, because those are also, in my mind, they're easier things to get information for if it's just a substrate and laminate and metal. But yeah, so a lot of furniture manufacturers are starting at the seating portion of it. And I think that, well, I'm not sure how many people have actually been asked for this kind of information before. So if you're not asked for it, then is there an incentive to provide it? So I think that by us starting these conversations and also declaring that we want to reduce embodied carbon from commercial interior spaces to the greatest extent possible, a huge portion of that is furniture. And because of that, we need to have these conversations with people. So I think eventually the furniture industry is going to get to where we need it to be. But because of the complexity of all their products and how many new products come out and how many pieces are a part of a line, like, I think that is going to be the hardest part. But I think we can get there. And I think that there is a plan for these manufacturers to get there. It's just time.
What do you hope the future of the workplace looks like?
I hope that in terms of the actual, like how people work, I hope it remains flexible. I think it will, because I think too many people are too used to working from home now, and they understand the flexibility of it and the ability to have these work breaks, like going for walks at lunch that maybe they didn't feel like they were able to do before. I mean, I love working from home. I also love going to the office and seeing people, because we need to be social. We're social creatures, so we need to go to the office at some point. But I hope flexibility remains, at least to some degree. In terms of sustainability and health and wellness, I hope that the push for a healthier work environment, whether that be allowing people, like I said before, to take breaks that they may have felt guilty to do before, or incorporating things like treadmill desks. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but I have one and it's amazing. And I would have never got it unless the pandemic hit. But it's allowed me sometimes, like, to get up and not just take, like, I don't have to take a break from work to still get in a little bit of exercise, because it just revitalizes you a little bit. So I hope that this push for like a healthier work environment remains. In terms of sustainability, I hope that people continue to be educated on the topic. In terms of like my own job and our own industry and sustainability, you know, we're starting to see commercial interior clients now think a little bit more about sustainability and carbon. And usually that was something that started with the architectural side of the industry, where clients are now building a whole new building. So they feel probably that their environmental footprint is that much greater. So they have to make that much more of a change. And also they have the ability to do things like install PV panels to offset their energy use. But as an interiors client, you don't actually have a lot of those options. So I don't think a lot of people think of it to the greatest extent. So I hope that this push for a healthier work environment, so I know a lot of clients now like rethinking how they want their spaces to operate. I hope that also sustainability feeds into that, and that the more that people are going to be educated on things like embodied carbon, which is now being talked about a lot, the more that people are going to demand it. And I hope that the momentum just stays, because we can't do anything unless our clients ask. Well, I mean, we still do things because it's just our internal practices, but the more we're pushed by our clients, the more leeway we have to make greater changes. So I hope that people keep pushing us, because we love a good challenge, and it gets us to where we want to be a lot faster.
Is there anything else you want the Six to know about you or Perkins and Will?
I mean, keep looking out for what we're talking about on social media. I think that we're spearheading the embodied carbon, the race to reduce embodied carbon. And, we have an amazing Perkins and Will global team that's talking about it, that's focusing on it. And we're sharing ideas all the time and implementing them. So I think, look out for what we're talking about, what we're achieving. I mean, I don't have Instagram, so I'm usually on LinkedIn. So that's where I'll be talking about it mostly. But yeah, I mean, Perkins Will it's an incredible firm for sustainability, and they've allowed me and my team to implement things that are incredibly important, that I think all firms want to implement, but maybe just don't have the people to do it. So it's an incredible firm for sustainability, and we're constantly striving for what we can do next. And the great thing about the industry of sustainability is that it's constantly changing. So you're constantly learning, you're constantly upgrading, you're constantly making improvements. So that's what I feel like we're doing on a daily basis. And it's an incredibly rewarding career to be in, for sure.
Well, thank you, Deanna, for coming on the show and sharing your ideas. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.